Welcome back. Tales from the Dark Side, T.A. Mahoney Company, bringing you another one. We're going to have a good time today. I got, I usually introduce somebody and tell them one of my weirdo buddies. I'm not so sure that you fall underneath that, but you're close. Weirdo, yes. Buddy, yes. We got Kelly Phillips
Even
from
less.
Bull Bay Rods. What's up, Kelly?
Hey, boss, how's it going?
Man, doing great. I'm glad you came out with us. I want to, one of my goals here on doing this Tales from the Dark Side is just to let people know some of the people that I deal with, some of the people that have helped with my success over the years. How old is Bull Bay Rods? How long have y'all been in business?
Unofficially, we started in 2012.
And I would say, when did they come in here?
We were in here around 2015.
2015.
And by the way, first store we ever.
Oh, okay. So you started, and 3 years later, you went into the retail and worked it hard. A lot of research there, I'm sure, and we'll get into that. But
Yep.
One of the things I want to talk about is let people know where Kelly Phillips came from. Give us a little history about yourself.
I'm a Lakeland boy, Polk County, and just grew up fishing with the grandparents, grandfather, shell cracker, bass fishing, stuff like that. And got old enough, I started coming over here to Tampa Bay and fishing. And then my first snook, it was over. I don't think I
You were
bass
hooked?
fished. I was hooked.
It
Still
don't take
hooked.
much. That snook will do it to you, won't it?
That's correct. It's a bass on steroids where I see it.
Right.
So that's kind of where it all started for me and our family. We played music and we fished.
And that's what you did growing up. What did you go to school? Or just get straight into fishing? Or
Well, I was in school there in Lakeland, and I went off to. I was actually going to Secret Service at 18. Went to boot camp and did some of that stuff. And at the last minute, they're saying, "Hey, you're not going to see your mama. You're not going to see your wife, and you're going to be gone for 2 years."
That's a tough one.
And our daughter was born. She was 9, 10 months old. And so I made a decision to stay put. Went to work for Citibank at the time as a young man, and I'm still in that business. But today, my son and I, Dustin, we run Bull Bay Rods, or he runs it primarily, and it's setting the world on fire.
Yeah, what made you go into Bull Bay Rods? I know you like fishing. You grew up here. Your family's from here. Definitely a family man.
Yeah.
To choose your family over work, where you knew you could provide for your family and you just wanted to be with them, which I admire and I appreciate. I appreciate both aspects of it. What got you into building rods? What made you want to build that rod in 2012?
Well, I've got to tread lightly with this response. I had purchased a couple of rods from a big box store, and they broke prematurely. They should not have broke. It's fishing tournaments. Went back into that store in Orlando at the time. That's where it was located. And receipt in hand, warranty type stuff. They told me to get a hold of the manufacturer if I'd have bought their brand and or a different brand that had warranted it. So a little bit agitated, I went back to Polk County, had a rod builder make me a couple of rods, fished them, and I was like, wow, what a difference on the custom rod side.
Right.
And I said, hey, can you start building rods for us? Because I really want to, get back at that company that gave me bad customer service. He says, yeah, you just want a tax write-off. I'm like, no, I want to start a brand, and I want everybody to have this kind of rod in their hands. There is a difference. And from there, I learned how to build rods, and Dustin came along when he got done with college, and we're doing well.
Yeah, you've done a great job. We were talking earlier about tournaments. You yourself have, and you talked about it on here a little bit. You fished tournaments yourself. You were telling us about one that you'd won, and it was a kayak tournament, right? Is that what you were into at the time, or just happened to be that circuit?
Well, in 2008, 2009, you had the correction happen. Got rid of the boat for a little while, kind of downsized finances. Ended up fishing in kayaks. One of my good close friends at the time says, hey, man, you're really good at this. Why don't you get in these kayak tournaments? So I wound up going to Hobie Fishing IFA tournaments. 2010, I won the few different tournaments locally, and ended up fishing Alabama and won the national championship. 2 redfish, 2 trout. I had 126 inches.
Man, that's awesome. And it's good to hear, too, a guy locally that makes rods, and you got some history there. It wasn't something you just thought about doing. I want to build a rod and make some money. It was more for, your own desire and own like it, as far as fishing goes. So well before the rod company came, you had landed a ton of fish.
Absolutely. And I didn't, the rod company came afterwards.
Right.
Where it kind of hit me was I felt like the big box store at the time wasn't giving the service level that they should. It wasn't about the break. It was about how they treated me.
Right.
And I came back and said, you know what? I'm gonna do better, and I'm going to make a rod. And I'm going to put a lifetime warranty on it. And I've stuck to that from the beginning. I'm not changing.
Right. One of the things I like about Bull Bay Rods and your company is the service and the warranty, like you're talking about. Any kind of issues, and I can tell you this from a retailer, I don't care what product you buy, there are going to be problems at times. I'm not saying that everybody that buys a certain rod, it's going to break in the same spot. But some of those rods could break, whether it's manufacturer, whether it's I had a guy come in today and return a rod. He bought it yesterday.
Oh, boy.
Right? And I said, yeah, no problem. I mean, that's what we thrive on, and that's why I like the people that I associate with and work with have to have the same kind of service. And I said, well, tell me something. How'd you break it? And he goes, well, my brother grabbed it, and I got a rod here. And I'm not going to do it to your rod. He grabbed it by his hand and grabbed the tip and bent it down.
Okay.
And it broke. And I said, that rod's not ever, you never fight a fish in that position. So why would a rod ever need to be in that position? So it was a production rod.
Right.
I gave the guy, I knew I'd get credit on it. I knew the people I deal with, and that's one of the things that I make sure they're going to service their product, but also educated him on how to actually bend the rod and feel the action. You really want to pull that rod tip like line would pull it, and that's going to be away from you. It's not straight down, it's not backwards, but any rod's going to be vulnerable when you put it in a position it shouldn't be. Am I right?
100% correct.
So, and we see that quite a bit. But one of the things, like I was saying, the service part of it, Kelly, and when we started carrying your rod, you got into an industry, and I was thinking about this today before the show. You got into an industry that I would never recommend. I would never say, you ought to try to build rods and build a custom rod at the price of a good production rod, which is what y'all do, and everybody will buy it because it's so hard to get into that kind of work.
Yeah, so many line items. You've got a gazillion rod manufacturers.
Yeah, and I think what separates and why I think you've had the success in my eyes is your service, of course, and your continued push to make a better product.
Always.
I lifted up this rod earlier, and I want to show everybody. I'm not going to tell you this is the smallest rod he makes, but this is a light line, inshore, real animals. What brand you call it? Is it an Assault or is it?
It's a Real Animals signature series under Mike Anderson, the TV Real Animals Fishing Show.
Right.
Mike had a hand in building that rod as far as the design and the layout.
Awesome rod, but he builds that all the way to that, which this is, all the new stuff he put on here. And of course, this is my rod. That's my tuna rod, my Louisiana rod, but just an awesome setup. And one thing that I appreciate that y'all do is there's nothing that you don't tackle. Like when you first got into it, when we started carrying them in here, mainly inshore, bass, lightweight, snook, redfish, trout. That was your push, and I've kind of tested you in different ways, and I know other people have too, but I remember I told you I wanted a tuna rod.
Correct.
I got a tuna rod. I went and caught a tuna on it. Unfortunately, something happened to the rod. The reel seat slipped or whatever it was, but what I appreciate about that, it was instant take care of it. Let's look at what we did. It's something kind of new.
And not repeat that.
That's right. And change it. And since then, I've got the same rod back quick. I've caught plenty of fish on it. And there's really nothing. You built me deep drop rods. You've built me tuna rods, marlin rods. I mean, it's just, you've really covered the whole area here and had a great deal of success with it, dealing with the guides. Now, you got a great guide staff, right, that reps the rods?
There's a ton of guys using the rods, and then we have some guys that have stepped up, like Mike Anderson, and they really like it because the rods, they do have a warranty, but they're not having problems with them so much.
That's right.
Because we use good parts, good components.
Right.
And that's what sets us apart coming into this business. How do you compete with Tom, Dick, and Harry that's out there in the rod world? You got to make as good or better product, meaning good parts, a good blank. Everything's got to be decent. If you can do that and keep your price point right, it'll pay out in the long run.
For sure.
So
that's what I've seen y'all do too. Anybody that you got a place in Lakeland where they can actually, I had a guy in. You brought me some rods today where a customer wanted one who's a kayak fisherman, worked for Lazy Days. Well, the other guy from Lazy Days is wanting to get all bass rods. And basically why I like dealing with y'all is it's not all, it's about the customer. That's our main goal. Me and you have the same goal to take care of that guy. And I know what I told him is I said, listen, go over there. I'll call them ahead of time. Tell them you're one of my customers. Look at everything they got. Custom build what you want, colors, names, whatever you want on it. Let them know. They'll ship them here. We'll take care of you.
Perfect.
And where are y'all at in Lakeland?
We're in Lakeland, South Lakeland. It's 530 West Brandon. It's our home office factory where we build the rods.
Great.
We don't do there's not a whole lot of retailers, a showroom, but we drive our business to the local homegrown tackle stores and places like yours. And because of that, it's about our relationship.
Yeah.
We want somebody there that's full-time that can take care of those customers the way we do, and we team ourselves up with the right places like yourself.
Right. And y'all have grown quite a bit in the last year or two. I'd say you got some stuff north of here.
Yeah.
Name off some of the guys that you have that you've picked up recently. I know West Marine, and you got them, and they've also got up in Crystal River. Don't you have quite a few up there?
Crystal River, you got Sodium, and you've got Captain's Cove. Jim up there. They're good people up a little bit further north, Crystal River. And then you get into some stores on the East Coast, and you get the West Marines. It kind of helps us cover a lot of the coastal areas, if you will.
A little bit bigger area, yeah.
Yeah, because they've got the footprint.
Right.
And we have the demand's there.
Right.
A lot of folks that want to see the rod, they just want to buy a rod online and not be able to feel it. They want to put their hands on it.
Right.
So it was really a good move on our behalf so we can get that exposure to those markets, to Carolinas, Louisiana.
And I must, I chuckle sometimes, and I have no hard feelings. I work with all Marine stores in this area. West Marine has been somebody that I've worked with, but I know those guys there must pull their hair out when it comes to West Central Florida, because there's too many of Jim Bickles, and there's too many of your
absolutely,
Betts Tackle and Mahoney's and Southeast Liquidators, and there's too many of those to come in here and infiltrate. But you're exactly right on the other coastal areas, because I've been down in the Keys, and that's your only choice in certain towns.
Correct.
You can't go anywhere, and it really helps y'all to expand. And I just hope one day you don't expand too much to where it's hard for me to get, but I don't see that happening, because you guys you're great. What's awesome is you usually come in here and spend time talking to somebody about one of the rods.
Hey, I shop here. You've got everything you could need for marine supplies, boat trailer supplies. It's here.
Plus, we give you a hard time when you come in.
And that's the best part, having a little fun at the same time. I mean, I don't know if you've been, if you can see this from the video here, but this stainless steel bolts.
Got them.
And they're not near and I'm not picking on other places, but the prices are right.
Well, and you know what it is, and I don't want it to be an infomercial, like I said, and pushing Mahoney's. I want people to know who Mahoney's deals with.
I'm telling you from my heart what I'm
and
I'm a
I
shopper.
appreciate that. And that's what keeps us here, and that's what gets us to get the product. The customer's the number one thing. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, and I want you all to know some of the people I deal with. Kelly Phillips, a great guy. I never would have thought. I've seen rod companies come and go quick in this area, and I've seen them sell out and move on. And over the 30, 34 years that I've been back here, that's what I've seen. And the push you got, you did the two best things I can think of. And I'm not trying to blow myself up, but you got Mike Anderson, who's one of the biggest guys around as far as the fishing industry. You got Mahoney's, you got a few other key places and key guides, and that's what really, it didn't happen overnight. Y'all worked hard at it. It was a tough job. I've seen you in the boat shows working, and it's hours after hours, and I've definitely seen you put them in. I appreciate it, all the business we've done. We got a segment coming up here. We got two different segments, and I think we're about to wrap this one up.
Good times.
But we're going to be right back in a minute. We're back. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side, talking rods. We got Kelly Phillips from Bull Bay Rods, another, I'm going to call you a weirdo. Just because you acting like that. You were one of the micro skiff guys, you know. Weirdo micro skiff
Weirdo
guys.
Kelly over here.
That's one of our sayings here, where the weirdos come to mingle. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side. So let me ask you this. What's up next for Bull Bay Rods?
You know, we're trying to infiltrate the bass world. We make a really, to me, one of the best bass rods when you compare it to what's out there. For example, we use the saltwater grade guides on our bass rods.
Bulletproof.
Yeah, they're solid, so we're not having problems with our guides. The number one complaint you hear from folks, rods-wise, is their guides are falling apart, the rings are falling apart, that kind of stuff. Then you get breaks. In the bass world, those guys break rods a lot more than they do in the saltwater world, from what I can tell. It's because they're stepping on them. They're setting the hook.
I mean, they put 15 of them on the front deck of the boat, and they do the tiptoe around them with a 5-pound bass, right?
Well, you just said how they're breaking them. They're stepping on them. So
it happens.
Yeah, it happens. So we're stepping into that business a lot better, a lot stronger, just to infiltrate it the correct way. And we're going to do it like we did the saltwater side, the inshore, grassroots. Just build it, and it'll stay, and it'll be strong.
And who are some of the guys advising you on the freshwater stuff? Is it just your guys, you yourself, or do you use pros?
we have Tom Mahoney.
Yep.
He's a bass.
And he's had them a while. I know he likes them and has sold quite a few of them.
We use his input on what to change and how to feel and all that good stuff. How to, looking for the sensitivity and that kind of thing. And then the Watts brothers, Greg's in there.
Yeah.
He comes over and he sits down, and I'd like to do this, and let's try that. And we're actually taking some of the ones that he designed and putting them into production. So what you have is a custom rod made by anglers that are real world that we're able to produce and put in a custom build. So we're not in an ivory tower saying, make me a gazillion of these purple rods. These rods have time spent with them. Once we get it dialed in and the blanks and everything are all the same, we can reproduce that. So you're getting a custom rod in a production line without a custom rod price point.
Right, and that's one of the things I always tell people that I like about it. It's basically a custom rod at a decent production rod price. The big thing is, and I preach this all the time, and I even said it on here about being local. The nice thing with you guys is y'all are local. You got a rep that's going to be there and see a issue and deal with it immediately. There is no, call this big corporation up and try to get a return number. Fine, you know how hard it is to UPS a rod. It's not the easiest. You got a broken rod and you got to find a tube for it, and not everybody saves VHF antenna tubes, which we do. For that reason, not really with y'all. I do a lot more of the production rods with breakage. Yours I see very few issues with, and get to see you take care of them in a pretty quick fashion.
Well, back when this started, we had a problem getting the blanks where they wouldn't break so easy.
Right.
So we reached out, and now we have the blanks made to our specs. And that's one of the secrets. It's still a light blank, still sensitive, very sensitive, but it's got a stronger core. So we have brakes, we have them, but I feel like our industry standard is a lot lower when it comes to brakes.
Let me ask you something. I know freshwater, overall nationwide is a lot bigger dollar value than saltwater is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But is there more variety on rods with freshwater? Like, would there be more models than what you would actually make with saltwater? Or is that what you're anticipating? Or would you think just a handful of certain specific rods for Florida, whether it's flipping? I know Tom's got one of y'all's flipping sticks, and I've heard him talk about them and like them. I'm not much into bass fishing. I graduated at a young age, and I started saltwater fishing. You know, most people after about a year or two, they realize saltwater's got twice as many hard pulls in it than freshwater
the tug
does.
is just there.
Yeah. You know, I think it's like a racer. You know, some of our
Right.
friends, as we graduate through high school, they stay in racing.
Yeah.
You see them with, 8-second cars and just incredible stuff. And then you see fishermen and you see golfers and, but I always tell people, you'll graduate one day from that freshwater.
Yeah, one day you're going to get hooked. And then
Yeah.
I grew up bass fishing in Lakeland. There's a lot of the phosphate pits, inner tubes.
Yep.
Gator swim by like this, and you didn't think anything about it. Now I'm not going to do that. I've grown up a little bit, but bass fishing, and we always looked for a rod then that we didn't have a depth finder. We had an inner tube, and you would try to feel the bottom, feel the sensitivity. That's still part of the rods, our inshore rod lineup. It's being able to feel the bite.
Right.
On the bass side, going back to that's got to stay true. And yeah, there's a ton of different ones. What's really crazy, you go into a store and you see a bright orange one, a bright pink one, a bright yellow, and that's what's being purchased by the youngsters, if you will.
Right.
The guys that have grown up and have arrived, they can tell the difference between quality and not
Sure.
so much. And that's our target market. We want the guys that are not going to abuse your equipment like they're doing with this stuff, take care of it, and that's how we can afford to do the warranty, because we're targeting that certain market.
Right.
So it's long-term growth, it's organic, it's customer service, it's right there in the backyard, hometown, homegrown, rod fisherman type.
Well, and you
guys.
can get a response. Leave a message, email, whatever it
Yeah.
is, you get a response. You go to your dealer, you support every dealer. It doesn't matter. You could buy a rod from me, not even be from here. Go up to Crystal River, whoever's got it there, you have an issue with it, you can take it into them. Their service is going to be just as good as anybody else's, because it all falls back on Bull Bay. One of the things I like is Bull Bay is not something that gives me a bunch of stuff. And that's one of the things I've preached about this show is I'm not going to be somebody that has Bull Bay today and something else tomorrow, and whoever wants to pay me the most to say that's what I use, because that's not what this is about. Bull Bay is one I buy and I use. I'm not telling you that every offshore rod I've got is Bull Bay, because I couldn't afford it. Over time, you find certain things, you get lucky with them, you like certain rods and reels, it's what you go with.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Bull Bay, one of the things I wanted to ask you, what is the difference? I was with Mike Anderson one time, and he doesn't let me fish with him very much because he doesn't like me keeping all the fish. And I'm not one to put all that effort out and get up early. And with Mike anyway, you're going from 10 to 2. That's a full day. Andrew, he's done. His alarm goes off. He's got to go work out and get in the mirror and, take a shower
Oh, my
and,
goodness.
just look at me. And I always try to tell him, the muscles only big in the mirror. They ain't big to everybody else.
I've seen him turn green, by the way. So,
Yeah. I've seen him. I had an alligator. He had an alligator in the boat one time. I was asking him to hand me something, and he was from me to you and was trying to sling me the tape. I was like, hand it to me. I'm holding his mouth. But
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
go with Anderson. He's throwing a 7-foot at the time. It couldn't have been more than 7.2, 7.4.
Right.
Braid, small reel. I had my rod, 8-foot, small reel braid.
Right.
So even though he's a foot taller than everybody else on the boat,
At least.
he's putting his bait out there 20 yards further than mine.
Yep.
I mean, a noticeable difference.
Right.
So I reel mine back in, and I'm thinking, there is no way he's throwing across that bar, and I can't. So I'm thinking, well, you know how sometimes the sardine will kind of get caught up in the wind and
Yeah,
not
a little
really.
bit of air. Yep.
So I reeled it back in and I sent it back out. I mean, it was sailing.
So he's slinging his bait at this point.
20 yards from his bait. What makes your guide different than everybody else's?
Well, it's the rod and how the rod loads, but then the way the guides are laid out on the rod. Example, if you're in an ivory tower again and you say, make me 1,000,000 rods, they're going to go with a certain guide's placement from, say, Fuji.
Right.
So Fuji kind of rules the world. They're the biggest guide manufacturer, right?
Right.
So all these rods all have the same guide placement. Because we're in the custom world, we started moving those guides around on the rod. Instantaneous, I was on my dock here. I went out and I started casting. I could hear a line flutter. I'm like, what is that noise? And it was me hard casting it. I started moving those guides, and I moved the second guide up 3 inches. I picked up 20 feet.
No flutter. And
No-
the flutter is
no
what's
noise.
slowing it down.
Yeah, it was resistant.
Because it's popping, right?
Yep. So that resistance disappeared, and we're using tangle-free guides on all of our rods. You will not find a bull bay rod with the old school guides that sit straight up and down. All of our guides lean forward.
Yeah, and I noticed that day.
What's crazy is people will buy the rods and they'll try to bend them back straight. The
Like
customers.
somebody stepped on them or something.
Yeah, they're bending them back, and I see them. Why is the guide straight? He said, "Well, they're all bent." No, they're supposed to be facing forward.
Yeah, he's thinking somebody stepped on him.
So Fuji invented that technology, and then you have other companies come behind and do their version of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's the tangle-free guides and how the guides are placed on the blank.
And it works. I've seen it. I was sitting there on the boat when it happened. I didn't want to give him no credit for it because, you know, Mike ain't from around here. He's from Wisconsin or something, you know.
Oh my gosh!
And he's put his time in.
Well, of course,
he's
yeah,
he's a
yes.
worker too. He's a good one to work with. I enjoy being in business with him, and
That's why he's
supporting
part
him.
of Bull Bay.
Yeah.
You know, that's because of that.
y'all have done a great job with that throughout the community, throughout, you know, just reaching out to people. It'll be nice when we all get back to the big conversations like we had up there at the dealerships, and I know
Yes.
Mike has signed a deal with Bartow Ford, and I know that hits home with you. That's Polk County.
Polk County.
I may have to ride with somebody over to Polk County. Polk County don't like Mike Mahoney. I'm sorry, but they don't.
There's a Grady Judd over here or something like that, right?
You know, Grady, I got a little bit of knowledge with. My buddies hunt with him, but no, it's a Marine division over there, and imagine that in the boaters world. I have to have that story. I got a buddy of mine. I got a few of them that could talk about that, but I got shot at over there in Polk County, and they didn't do a whole lot about it. They didn't really care that I got shot at because I was from 813.
They got him in
not
the computer is what it
863.
is. Yeah.
They didn't like 813, but
That's funny.
it's a bunch of good people over there, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I know that you enjoy being around that and being around people, and I've enjoyed working with you, man. I think it's been great. You, like I said, I'm introducing people that I've worked with for quite a few years. I'm doing some that I've worked with all the way back at the beginning, and
Nice.
some right now. But I can tell you, you've been a big part with us. We are not the shop that's going to have every single rod made in every manufacturer. When we downsized, what happened to T.A. Mahoney was when we moved here in '96, we decided to expand the fishing department. Well, two things weren't here: the mall with Dick's Sporting Goods and Bass Pro. So we had more and more people coming in here that wanted us to carry more variety of fishing stuff. And we used to just carry the stuff we used, you know,
Yeah,
4/0, 6/0, Shimano 4000, you know, Stratix, and, you know, a little bit of Crowder, and that's what we enjoyed. That's what we used. Well, when we moved to this location, we had so much people asking us to carry more variety, we started carrying more variety. Since then, we've had Dick's come in and Bass Pro come in, and we don't have a problem with sending you there to get more of a variety or a little bit lesser expensive. We try to stock what we use, and I know that Bull Bay was on the list of yes or no, and it was definitely a yes here at Mahoney's by everybody. You're basically part of the family. You got Mike there with you. We're all in it together and have shown tremendous support, and I appreciate that, Kelly.
Well, you know, it comes down to servicing the customer. And that, if you put that first, you put the people first. If you love everybody, you're going to give great service to people. You're not going to walk and hate and that kind of thing.
Right.
You guys, when you walk in here, your guys are knowledgeable. They know what they're doing. They know where to take you, where to get your parts. And that's where we're at. We're in the same place. We want to out-service. Lynn Roberts says if you don't service someone, someone else will.
That's right.
And that's true. If you can't take care of folks, no matter what it is, they're broke down the side of the road. Help them change your tire. Help people out. But in your business, you take that same attitude and you do the same thing inside this building, you'll never have to advertise.
Right. And you know what? And it's just letting people know who we are. I agree with you 100%. And that's back to what I was saying before. The customer is what has kept me here. And me taking care of them is proof
It's
of why they come
Everybody's
here.
family.
That's
They
right.
walk the door, yeah.
And we're here for you. Bull Bay is definitely part of T.A. Mahoney's family. We got new bass rods coming out.
Yeah.
I gave you a quick question and then kind of went on to something else, but do you expect the line of Bull Bay to be as big as the line saltwater and freshwater in a year from now?
I think it's going to take a year, 2 years, because where we're at on the inshore light tackle, I'm just going to say it, we're pretty much owning the west coast of Florida.
Right.
We are dominating, and I don't know what the other numbers are for other manufacturers. It's not my business. I know we're doing well.
Great.
With that, on the freshwater side, it comes back down to all these people that are popular. They're getting paid to fish with this stuff, right? Well, we're not going to pay anybody to fish with it. They either like what they're fishing with, or they want quality, or we may give them a discount or something like that.
Pro staff stuff.
But we're not going to buy their their love, or however you want to say it. It's going to be try the rod out. If you like it, we'll work out something.
Right.
That kind of thing. So we're not for sale.
Well, and one of the biggest things, and I think you'll agree with this, that a lot of people don't realize, pro staff, a lot of people go after being pro staff is looking for free stuff. Okay, and that is a little bit part of it, right?
Right.
But my goal as being a pro staffing Mike Anderson,
meaning promotional.
right, it's to sell the product.
Yep.
So don't go beating him up because your name's Captain. How many times you been to a boat show and they told you right off the bat, I'm Captain so-and-so?
Quite a bit.
How many rods are you going to give me?
Yep. Can we talk? Let's go over here in the corner. Or friends and family. Hey, I'm your buddy. I'll promote your rods for you. Give me 5 rods.
Probably ain't going to happen.
It can't happen. I'll go out of business.
Yeah. And all of us will, but promotion is one thing that these guys do themselves, and I think that's really important now is people want to know who you are.
Well, we're hands-on.
Yeah.
You know.
So what other things are you into?
Well,
I know you got a little girly Jeep out there, and I've heard you brag about that thing. You should have seen him. Hey, he was on Facebook, and he's going through it looks like a baseball field, okay? And it's like, yeah, I'm off-road today, testing the Jeep. So you've been doing that quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, I've been Jeeping for years, but off-roading, outdoors, that kind of stuff. I like being outside. Take the top off or go fishing, go hunting, just live life a little bit. Dustin's got me in. My son Dustin has got me into playing golf, and I'm kind of getting, liking that a little bit. But Dustin, he's full speed golfing, But I'll go and I support his sport. He likes it, and I've been able to do okay, I guess. My numbers aren't quite there, but
I can probably be okay in a game of golf on like a par 3 course if you don't watch me.
Don't watch me, yeah.
My first trip ever
He said
golfing, this is the truth. I was over in Orlando. Believe this, I was working a job where I had to wear a tie. And I don't know if y'all can picture that or not, but
not a tie.
I had to get my roommate to tie it. Anyway, and I'd leave it tied all the time so I didn't have to constantly bother him. But they talked me into golfing. Of course, I hit one in the woods, and I was calling for a do-over, and they said there is no do-overs. You got to go in the woods and hit it.
Yeah, right.
So, of course, I go in the woods, and I'm looking at them, and they're not looking, and I played a little more baseball than I did golf. So I had a perfect hit the next one. I threw it overhand far as I could and got on the green.
Hey, I'm right there.
It was great. That was my experience golfing. No more golfing. I think another time we were hitting golf balls. You ever hit a golf ball with a baseball bat?
Oh, that's the best.
Oh, it'll go a mile. You better not be standing in the infield when the guy's
That's the
hitting.
best.
But boy, you
Oh,
hit
my
it a
gosh.
long way.
I told Dustin when we first started playing, so I'm just going to aluminum baseball bat, and this is going to be over because you can send it. You know?
Oh man,
My
unreal.
gosh, yes.
But I appreciate you coming out today. We've had a great time,
Yep.
and let us know how you can get a hold of somebody at Bull Bay. Of course, your dealers in the area. Who are your dealers around here?
You got Tom Mahoney's or T.A. Mahoney's.
Well,
of
that's
course.
Tom. I'm just a janitor.
Yeah, he's just a janitor. And then you got Southeastern here locally.
Great
Tampa
guys
Fish,
over there. Tampa
good
Fishing
guys.
Outfitters.
Tampa Fishing Outfitters.
How about across the bay there?
On the other side, let's gosh,
You
Gator
got
Gyms.
You got anybody over no rods at Gandy Bait and Tackle?
Gandy Bait and Tackle's got an order in. I'm not sure if they've. I don't handle that side of it, so you're asking me.
I got you. I was just wondering. Bill's a great guy. I've been trying to get him on here.
Right.
Taught me quite a bit.
Bill's good
Whether he
people.
liked it or not, we've had some funny stories. At the time, they probably weren't the funniest. I brought the cops to Gandy Bait more than once, and I was out of there before they got there. And across the bay, that was the best part about it. I lit a boat flare off one time. I hope Bill's listening. I got to go into this real quick. Lit a boat flare off, and this wasn't like a boat flare that you buy at my store. This is a 25 millimeter that comes off a cruise ship. And we used to sell them new flares, and they would come in with a box full of old flares out of date, but they haven't been used, which most of us know they still will work.
Yeah.
So the guy hands them to me. I think I was about 15, and he says, "Hey, can y'all get rid of these for me?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I get rid of them." Well, we had held on to them for years and shot them periodically around town.
At
here.
each other, probably.
No, it'd burn right through you. I mean, these
Oh,
things
boy.
were parachutes. These were go a mile in the air. Well, I was at Gandy Bait one night. I think it was July 4th. It could have been. And I asked Bill if he minded if I lit a couple flares off for the holiday. And he goes, "No, I don't care." And he's probably thinking little baby flare. Well, I lit these flares off, and I'm telling you, Tampa Bay was orange. The whole sky.
Oh my gosh.
Well, his whole backyard at the old Gandy Bait was full of smokes. It smelled like gasparilla. It just had that phosphorus smell to it. I couldn't even see, there was so much smoke from these things. So it's time to leave, right? Nobody really could see what was going on. I jumped in the car, and as I pulled off, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw red and blue lights pulling into Gandy Bait. Oh, yeah, we don't want to be there. So I drove across the bridge, went to the next county just to be safe for a short time. And
Lit off another one.
no, I actually thought about it, and I thought, Bill Robinson is a friend of mine. He let me shoot that off. I bring the dogs to him, and then I slide out of there. I said, I got to go back. I got to go back and face some music. So I turned around. I went all the way back. And they had left by then. Everything was good. There wasn't no problems. But I came back to face some music.
Face the
Funny
music.
story. The guy came in and asked Bill, "Where's the boat sinking?" Because I can promise you everybody in Tampa Bay saw that flare. And if I told you every time I lit one off, there's a few more people that probably wondered what that flare was. But don't ever hand a 15-year-old a box of 50 millimeter flares without a receipt, because I don't even know how I got them home. Put them in my dad's car. He didn't even know.
I would think he'd probably light it off even at his age now. I don't think 15's got anything to do
Oh,
with
yeah.
it.
I've been
Look at
known
that.
to light stuff off like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely.
Remember, Bull Bay Rods, take a look at them here. A lot of dealers in the area. Go on their website. You want to talk to them, they're over in Lakeland. And if you see a little Jeep with big tires that can barely turn them, with rod holders in the front and a Salt Life sticker in the back,
Oh,
it
man.
may be his.
Salt Life sticker.
I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Appreciate you guys.